it's almost like you rely so much on other people to have to help you to care for your special needs child or individual or family member. With VLAWsity, you can take some of that power back, take some of that agency, and you're doing a piece of it yourself. You don't have to wait for Ted or another lawyer or someone like me to make that decision or finish that work. You can do it right from the comfort of your own home. And I think that's empowerment on the individual or the family to say, you know what, this is something that's really important. I could go on the website right now and I can do this myself, and I don't have to wait on anybody other than myself.
I'd like to welcome everybody back to Finding Common Ground with Heather and Steve. Heather is off today. I'm flying solo today, doing a Dad series. And today we have Kevin Barone and Ted Perry with us. And I met them actually at I met Kevin at Pathways to Success, an event we had in Utica. And Kevin, I was wondering maybe if I met you there. Maybe you can give me a heads up on how you got there too.
Yeah, absolutely. It took a while to make that connection, but I'll kind of give you the origin story. So our company, VLAWsity, is a do-it-yourself online estate planning company. And, we started the company the idea started probably in 2023. And we really, I would say, launched officially, what, Ted, do you think 2024?
2024, December 24.
So in and around that time, as we were developing it, we were, reaching out to certain not-for-profits, one of which was David's Refuge. And, we had a couple of meetings with them, and, David's Refuge kind of explained their mission to us. And again, this was kind of a preliminary outreach as we were just trying to get the product, to reach individuals. And we kind of had in mind that given the access and the affordability of the product, that it may be a very good option for special needs families. So in speaking with David's Refuge, Ted is an estate planning attorney. I am also an attorney that focuses on estate planning, at least through VLAWsity, but my practice is a little bit more diverse. And in speaking with David's Refuge, they mentioned, have you ever, do you do testamentary special needs trusts? And Ted and I are sitting there. Ted's like, well, I've done it, many times. And they said, there's a serious need in the marketplace, for our caregivers and, for the folks that we support. And we're sitting at the table with them, we kind of looked at each other and said, hey, let's ask our web developers if this is something that maybe we could build right into the existing platform for the estate planning, which is a will, power of attorney, healthcare proxy, HIPAA authorization, and guardianship if you have children. So I think, what was it? Probably within a few days, we reached out to our web development team, and they said, yeah, I think this is something that we could do. And right from having that meeting at David's Refuge, we kind of said to ourselves, this is something that could really help people. And we kind of just went full bore with it. And within, I would say, less than a month, the development of the Testamentary Special Needs Trust was input into our existing website. And from that point on, we've been trying to kind of sing it on the mountaintops to anybody that would listen. And Kathy Caruso, God bless her, she's a friend of my sister and my mom. She knows them really well. And I was talking with my mother about it, and I'm like, we're really trying to kind of get this aspect of the product out there. And so I got in contact with Kathy, and, she said that this is wonderful. I think I have an avenue where you guys could, really help people and showcase this. And that's how we got into Better Pathways for Success. And me personally going to that event was a real eye opener. The amount of resources that are available to special needs families. And, this company, VLAWsity, we're probably one of only two companies in the United States of America that offers this online special needs trust. And, just meeting some of the folks that were at that event and just meeting and conversing with a lot of the caregivers, it really was a really moving experience for me. And I was, honored to be there and humbled that, all the amount of work and the amount of, resources that people are giving to special needs families. And that's kind of how we came here today, Steve. And I can open up to Ted if he wants to add in on kind of the origin story. He does definitely have a little bit more to it.
Steve, again, I'm Ted Perry, and I've been doing estate planning for about 20 years, all forms, including families with children with disabilities. And one of the biggest concerns through that process is how do we ensure that our child is going to be taken care of should we pass away, when we pass away. And one of the tools, there's a few tools, but one of the tools that will come into play, whether it be in a revocable trust or a standalone or through a testamentary, through a will, is a special needs trust, which, for those that don't know, in the event when a child or an individual is receiving governmental assistance, support, whether it be SSI or Medicaid, what have you, the special needs trust allows for that individual to have additional resources that supplement those government programs, but doesn't jeopardize their qualification, their requirements. It doesn't take that away. It doesn't remove that. It's just used by the trustee, whoever that could be, to help supplement for those needs that SSI and Medicaid aren't designed for. Education, therapy, there's so many different ways that money can be used to enhance that individual's life. So it's a tool that I personal with my clients and my family and see how it works. And Kevin's right. The VLAWsity is a little different than meeting with an attorney or brick and mortar. It's an online program that makes it hopefully more accessible, much more affordable, but still guarantees the quality that I would do. In fact, they're my forms. I've been using these for a number of years. So they work just a little better.
Yeah, that's great. Kevin, I wanted to mention to you that, that I was at that event. So was Scott, recording from Rockbox. And I'm glad you stayed the whole time. Sometimes providers don't stay for the whole thing. You stayed and listened. I appreciate that part of it as a family member. But more importantly, I was really glad to see you there, because unfortunately, a lot of the events that I've been doing advocacy for a long time. So many parents and so many events that put these things on forget the things that people don't want to talk about. And that's what you guys are doing with wills, what you guys are doing with trusts and all that. So I'm glad that you guys were there. I think families need to hear it. I'm glad that we were able to record it for others that couldn't make it. Knowing so many families across Oneida County and beyond, our advocacy with Heather has certainly reached throughout the state. I can tell you right now that a lot of families are in need of what you guys are doing. And what's I think cool about it is the fact that they can do it from home. So many parents and single moms are exhausted. They're tired. They don't have time to go to your office, maybe Ted, and to do it online, I think would be so ideal for so many families that I see across the state.
That was that was kind of the idea behind VLAWsity, and it's one of the big selling points. It's something that, we've been on, a lot of local news, and, we've talked about it. And that's kind of one of my biggest highlights is, there's a couple of, roadblocks for whether you're special needs family or you're just a family without special needs. People don't want to take time out of their day to go, to a law firm. Law firms have this, they have this air of, it's stuffy. I'm going to spend money that maybe I don't want to spend, so getting to that point, we've kind of remove those roadblocks, because you don't need to take time out of your day. It's on your time. You go on the website, you could sit at your kitchen table. You could sit there with the people that are going to be impacted the most by the decisions that you're going to make. And you could do it at your kitchen table. You could do it at your dinner table, and you could have those individuals right there. And so we think that particular piece of it is what has opened the door for this to expand and become accessible to everybody. And especially, even with talking with, some of the other organizations that provide provide care for special needs, we feel as though that, you hear this a lot, and I'm sure you've heard this, Steve, and you know it better than I do, and Ted, obviously, but it's almost like you rely so much on other people to have to help you to care for your special needs child or individual or family member. With VLAWsity, you can take some of that power back, take some of that agency, and you're doing a piece of it yourself. You don't have to wait for Ted or another lawyer or someone like me to make that decision or finish that work. You can do it right from the comfort of your own home. And I think that peace of mind to finally be able to take a little bit of that power that you're relying on so many other individuals who do great work. It's not a knock against these other providers who do tremendous work. It's just you're relying on other people to get what you need. And for this, you can do it yourself. And I think that there's an incredible amount of, just empowerment on the individual or the family to say, you know what, this is something that's really important. I could go on the website right now and I can do this myself, and I don't have to wait on anybody other than myself. So that's another, we saw that when we developed this, we saw that avenue to give that empowerment back to the families. And that's why we think that it's so important. It's such a great tool for these special needs families to utilize, because you're taking you're taking that control and you're putting it back to yourself as the special needs family.
Yeah, from someone who I have to ask my 23-year-old daughter how to use my phone half the time. How easy is it to get through the part of the online that somebody could get through, like a parent could get through?
Definitely. I'm gonna let Ted speak to that a little bit.
We designed VLAWsity, we designed the forms, designed the whole program with that in mind. It is very simple to use. It walks you down the primrose path. It asks you the questions that you already know. We're not asking, the program doesn't ask for any personal information, secured information, names, addresses, and it'll walk you right through as far as who you want to leave for beneficiaries, who do you want to be the executor, who would you like to be the trustee of the special needs trust, or who you want as a power of attorney. Again, this program provides a will, a power of attorney, healthcare proxy, and final disposition in a HIPAA form. It's very, very simple. The fastest we've seen anybody finish it is within 14 minutes. I'm not saying that everybody will be able to do that, but if you know who you want to be, the fiduciaries and their addresses, it's very simple.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be in the 14-minute one, but I certainly would appreciate any kind of saving time, because to me, I would think it would, looking at it, and I don't look at it very often, and I need to. I can see it taking whatever time that I'm spending on trying to get through that process would still be saving me a lot of time, rather than going down to somebody's office and trying to go through that, because I would be lost. I'd be spending most of my time asking you questions that probably are already on the site. So I appreciate you guys thought of families when you tried to make it easy going forward. And is there the language that you guys have in this particular thing, would it ever change, like with down the road, like in 10 years, if something changed as far as how they handle this stuff on a state or federal level?
There are some, depending on, this one is a testamentary trust. Testamentary trust is more of a third party type trust that's created from the estate. There are changes within the rules for both federal as well as state-based rules. Generally speaking, it's still going to cover unless there's a significant major change. It'll still cover the way we design it is to sort of capture any minor future changes. In the event there's a significant change, we will keep all our forms are updated and current, whether it be in New York or any other state that we'll be doing business in. They will be updated and once an individual logs in, creates an account, in the event that there's a change, the individual would be able to come back and actually redo that. Generally speaking, no, there shouldn't be anything that would change it drastically.
Yeah, as a family member, we appreciate that possibility, because it would be a question I think families would ask me, in response to you guys being on here, and I would want to be able to tell them that you can get updated. Personally, I was talking to Kevin a little bit when we were at the event. My son's 35 years old. He's autistic. He's going to need provisions down the road for somebody to take care of him. We also do therapeutic foster care. We just adopted one. We're adopting another one November 21 in Syracuse. And then a third one, I think, in December. And they're much younger. They're 14, and 17. So I absolutely need to come see you guys and try and figure out how I'm going to do this. And I appreciate the fact that we can get something online. Now, would you guys be available for questions if I had questions off the online process?
Absolutely. We have a great back office. There's two different ways to reach out to us, whether it be email or through the phone, and somebody will always be there to respond. We've had people, everybody's different. Everybody does things at their own time. We've had people that at 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday will start their will. And if they have a question, we've responded to it that night. I can't guarantee at 2 o'clock in the morning, but I can guarantee you by 7 or 8 in the morning the following day, we will have a response back and we'll be reaching out to try to help out whatever needs to be helped out.
Yeah, that's comforting to know. I know where my strengths and weaknesses are. And like I said, I have to ask my daughter half the time for anything like electronics or anything on the internet and that kind of bit. But again, I so appreciate you guys even doing something like this, because it's, again, like I said earlier, this isn't talked about a lot. And I'm in a lot of events across the state, and it's just not, what you guys are offering just isn't even offered. It's like the behind the scenes thing nobody wants to talk about, and things like that. And I think it probably needs to be talked about.
Steve, I don't get invited to a lot of cocktail parties because I talk about things that nobody likes to talk about or hear. But it's only, I actually just heard this last night. In 2022, 33% of the population had wills. Today, the new statistic, or at least as of yesterday, was only 25% of the population, adult population, have wills or any other estate planning. If you carry that forward into what we're talking about, protecting our loved ones with disabilities, it's even fewer. And I do believe there's a number of reasons. One being is we're all invincible. Nothing's going to happen to us until we're not. As Kevin indicated earlier, the cost can be expensive. We didn't really talk about that. The same product or a very similar product, a little better product that you receive from VLAWsity for a single individual is $150.
Wow.
That same product would be about $850 or more, especially more with a special needs trust component to it. For a couple, it's only $250. So we're trying to make it more accessible in every way, shape, and form, but still provide documents that will stand up once they're properly executed, through the surrogate court.
Ted, speak to how much it may cost if you were to come into your office outside of VLAWsity, how much it would cost to do an estate plan with a special needs child.
Probably be about $1,500. So I know there's other attorneys that are probably charging more, maybe few that are charging less, but anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500, I'd say. For a couple, it'd be a little more. I can tell you, it's an individual. For a power of attorney loan, I charge $225 for. So it's a great value for a
Quite the
great
savings.
I believe everybody should have a will. I certainly believe everybody should have a power of attorney, and just to have that conversation and plan before it's too late to plan.
Yeah, unfortunately, what I see, a lot of families, especially with those with special needs children, don't have those wills and they don't have the power of attorney. And then what happens is, if something happens to them, then somebody else is making the decision. The state's making the decision. Somebody else is making the decision, and it might not be what their wishes were. So I can certainly appreciate why you'd want a will and going forward with any of your kids.
Right. Another one of the big selling points, and this is true for whether or not you have a special needs family or you're just someone, just a individual or just a couple without it, and you have kids. You don't want the state, you don't want a judge to be making a decision as to where your child goes in the event that you and your spouse or you and your significant other, something were to happen to both of you at the same time. And that's another huge reason that you touched on. If you make these decisions now, you're in control. Again, it's that idea of empowerment and agency over the well-being of yourself. And, when you pass away, what happens to your assets, but especially the well-being of your children when you're gone. And especially with a special needs child, you want all of that done and locked up before you ever even have to think of that unfortunate inevitability, but however far it may, be down the road. But to have those decisions made without you having a say in it, I think is one of the more is a worst case scenario for a company like ours. That's what we're trying to avoid. And for us, we've kind of only scratched the surface with this special needs product, and we can't scream it from the mountain at the top loud enough, so that's why, we came here today. We really want to be able to tell everyone that this is available and it's easy and it's affordable. The only thing that's stopping you is you to do it. Because if you have a computer, if you have a phone, there's nothing that's going to stop you from taking care of this. And, what we found a lot is, in the special needs community, the expense, of taking care of a special needs child or a special needs family member is very high in and of itself. And then you tack on, estate planning, and it becomes out of reach and unaffordable for many. And that's the problem that we're trying to solve right now with it. And, Ted and I are committed to keep telling anybody that'll listen about this. And we just think it's such a benefit to the special needs community, and we want everybody to take advantage of it. And, Ted and I, it's a passion of ours. We started this company, to change the way that estate planning is done. And, we think that we could change the way, estate planning is done for special needs families, because, those are the kind of things where, as a company, you want to be successful. But with this, if you're really helping people, then that's, at the end of the day, that's even more reason to continue to do it. And, we just, for Ted and I, companies and marketing, those are huge expenses. But, to do something like this, to tell, your network that, hey guys, listen, mom and dad and, your, special needs families, that this is available for you. This is something that you could do now. And, you could do it for a fraction of the cost. We want to tell everybody about it.
Yeah, look, again, speaking as a family member, I'm guilty of pushing a lot of this stuff. I get busy and I get push some of this stuff, to the side. And I have a will, but it hasn't been updated in a long time. And I certainly don't have anything set up if something happens to me with my son. I'm remarried. It could be complicated, and I don't really want that. And I also have been in court for a number of different reasons with families that were splintered because they didn't have anything like this. There's nothing. They didn't have a will. They didn't bother with any of this end of life type situations, and something happens. And one particular guy I know was elderly. He wound up against everybody's wishes. The state made the decision.
Yeah.
And the family was not happy about it, but there was nothing that could be done. It was a complicated case, but nothing could be done. There was nothing in writing.
Yeah. And that's why it's, again, it's people don't want to talk about death. They just don't. It's one of the biggest biggest roadblock to, getting people to sit down and take care of their estate planning. But it's something that we know. I mean, people don't, no one wants to talk about the inevitability of their own demise. It just is what it is. But, through talking about it and making it easy and affordable, it removes some of that burden of, all right, how am I going to do this? I don't want to take time out of my day. I don't want to go see a lawyer. I don't want to spend money that I don't have. With those three things, happening, it's never going to happen until now. Until you can go on our website, on your computer or on your phone, in your living room, in your dinner table, on your kitchen, on your phone, and do it at your pace, at your time frame, and for a price that is so affordable. That's how you break through that. That's how you break through those barriers. That it's as simple as that. You make it affordable, you make it accessible, and you make it easy enough where people aren't spending time that they already don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And Steve, the touch upon something you mentioned was for blended families, VLAWsity took that in mind. So I think we do a really good job, or the program does a really good job with capturing sort of some of those difficult decisions and making sure that, perhaps in your situation, that your son is accounted for out of that, and you're making sure that the control is there. So for when you pass away, that mechanism is already there to take care of your son before everybody else, which I'm sure you want to do as well.
Yeah, I have legal guardianship of him. I got it quite a while ago. But that doesn't, I also have an ex-wife who's the mom, biological mom, and I don't, I would rather know for sure that something is in writing that's going to, the wishes of my son and myself are done over somebody else making a decision. Any of them, even his sisters, I'd rather it come from me talking to my son about it and what his wishes are and what I think is best for him. And so I've got to certainly get in and try this out myself. So I'm a prime example of who needs what you have.
It's great. It's a great program. It's a great product with the right intent behind it, and that's to make sure. Again, it's not just because of what I do. I've seen so many families torn apart. I've seen families that even when they don't have a power of attorney, they're making us live longer, but sometimes our minds and bodies don't follow that. And it's really sad to see individuals that may not have the capacity to make their decisions. And the only option available is through an Article 81 guardianship. If they had a power of attorney, there's so much that could be done, and that would make it a little easier for the family. So there's a lot of heart. There's a lot of, I just see what this can do when you don't have those plans in place, and all we're trying to do is make it more accessible for individuals to obtain. So they have them; they're there when they're needed. I tell my clients that I'm in the business of providing dust collectors. I just want to make sure that they have them in place, let them collect dust for a very, very, very long time. But when they're needed, they're there. And your plan is set in motion. as opposed to, like you said, sometimes the courts will get involved and make a decision based on a statute, as opposed to you being able to circumvent that statute with a proper plan.
Right. You've certainly given a whole lot of reasons why myself and others should look into what you have. The accessibility, the ease, the cost, especially, I think is going to be of interest to a lot of people. And the fact that they can do it from home or wherever they are, and save that time. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of single moms out there that I talk to all the time. They don't have time to go to your office, with all due respect.
Right.
And they probably never would. And why it'd be so much easier for them to just go online and get this done and get it out of the way.
Absolutely. And then if they and again, our support team is very helpful. They're ready. If there's any questions, concerns, they're right there to help out. So
Good. Now, how does somebody go in and act? What's the exact? Is there a website exactly where somebody could go who's listening to this right now?
yes, the website is VLAWsity. It's VLAWsity. So it's VLAWsity.com. It'll take you right to the site. And then if they wanted to proceed, created their estate plan, they're going to log in, create an account, username, password. And then from that point forward, it's going to take them to, each question to build that plan accordingly, pursuant to their needs and wishes. And then once they're done, they'll not until they're done, they will, pay for it online, whether we have PayPal, we have credit cards, whatever's, and it's very secure. We use Stripe, which is a secured credit card company online program that they hold all that information. Once it's paid for, they will receive an email which shows all the documents. We then, which I think is really important, and unfortunately I can't show your users how great the product is when they receive it, but they'll receive a folder in the mail that has each document bound at the top. And then they will, once they receive that, we send it out priority mail right now. Once they receive it in the mail, it will require signature and notary. If they have difficulty finding that, they can reach out to us and we'll assist them with finding that individual to do that.
That's great. Great to know. I hope you guys continue to educate out there the need of something like this. Like I said, it gets pushed to the side all the time. And like I said, I'm guilty myself of just not dealing with it, not having the time to do it, and getting out in front of it. And like you guys did at that event, I think was so beneficial for you guys to be there and let somebody hear something they normally wouldn't. And like I said, I've been in a lot of events. Not one time have I ever seen anybody talking about this. Not once.
Yeah.
So,
It's great though, and we appreciate that sincerely. But I think what is more which is greater on the bigger scale, is exactly what you're doing today and every day, every Thursday to the guys and every Wednesday to everybody else. But being there yourselves and explaining, because again, as Kevin indicated, as you've indicated, there are so many great programs out there that just need to be found.
right.
And there's so many great people that are willing to help along the way. That's what I find.
Do either one of you guys have anything else you want to close with, or?
Yeah, Steve, like I said, I mean, our mission right now is kind of, yell it from the mountaintops, and, we're going to look to you if we want to be involved. There's, if there's another way, outside of the podcast that we could tell people about this product, we want to do it. We think it's so beneficial that everybody should have it. It's so affordable and so accessible that there's no reason why every single person that needs it has it. And that's kind of our mission, with the company, especially with the special needs, because there's that element of urgency there, because, the special needs community, the repercussions or, the consequences of not doing it now are far greater than in some cases, an individual without special needs, because you're dealing, with an individual in many cases that may not have that type of agency over themselves. And, you don't want the state to do it. You don't want the state or a judge to. So, we want to close with, we want to come back. We want to be on your podcast again, and we want to know about any other way that we can spread this good news to your community.
Yeah, we can certainly help. We'll actually we'll put our link in this podcast when it finally comes out. It's usually a couple of weeks out, and we'll link you guys right into your VLAWsity right into it.
That'd be amazing.
At the bottom of it, and we'll get it on our website too, because of the importance of doing something like this for your loved one.
We really appreciate it, Steve. And, we're committed, we're in this, fight with you now. And, we want to do everything that we can. And, just meeting you and all the, wonderful things everybody said about you at that, at that event was something kind of special. And I know that they were serious.
I try to hide in the background.
I saw.
I do. I hide it right. You saw me. I was hiding.
I know.
Even Scott picked me up.
I know. There was no way they sung "Happy Birthday" to him. It was he was a marked man. He was a marked man.
I think I got set up.
Yeah, exactly.
And, yeah, look, it's interesting because right after, recently they asked me to be on the committee for this now, up to go on stage, and I said I'll go on the committee. I'm not going on stage. I'm going to hide in the back, and Scott can try and track me down with his cameras.
There you go. Oh, that's great. And it was really evident how important you are to the community, and we just want to give you another tool in the toolbox. And if that's VLAWsity, we think it is for many special needs family, then we're going to do everything we can to tell everybody about it. And once everybody uses the product, we'll make it as easy as possible. And that's our commitment.
Heather and I started this podcast to empower others. And if we can empower them to take some of the crisis and some of the stress out of their lives by getting these things in place, it could be supports, it could be what you guys are offering, then we've accomplished what we wanted to do on our podcast. So we appreciate you guys coming on. I'm all set. I think Scott's probably all set. And I can't thank you guys enough for coming on.
On the show. Steve, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I can't thank you enough for having us. And, we want to continue this conversation. Ted and I want to keep talking with you because we think we really could do something special together.
Yeah. Kevin and Ted, thanks for joining us on Finding Common Ground. Until next time.
Continue the conversation by joining our Facebook group. If you're a fan of the show, please join our supporters club. Subscribe on YouTube, rate and review on your favorite listening app, but most of all, share it with your friends. Just one more click or comment can make a huge difference and help us to continue finding common ground.